Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei warns of retaliation if the United States threatens or carries out actions against his country. This comes as the US imposes the first batch of fresh sanctions against Iran under Donald Trump. The International Criminal Court hits back after US President Donald Trump slaps sanctions on the institution. The ICC vows it will continue to provide justice and hope around the world. Russia says it has arrested 4 women who were allegedly agents for Ukrainian special services, preparing attacks against energy sites and senior Russian officers. Libyan authorities recover at least 92 bodies of migrants in 2 separate locations in the country. Authorities find 9 bodies in a mass grave in the southeast and 10 bodies near a boat wreck off the northern coast near the capital of Tripoli. And heavy rainfall triggers flash floods across several regions in Peru, causing widespread damage and displacing residents. Emergency teams have been deployed to assist those affected. Hello and welcome. Our top focus today is on the ongoing diplomatic standoff between South Africa and the United States. The South African government, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, as it turns out, has landed on the wrong side of the US President Trump. Trump has accused Ramaphosa's government of land confiscations and even more horrible crimes. The US is also skipping G20 talks in Johannesburg this month. Though Ramaphosa tried to diffuse the tensions, he has now sent a defiant message to Washington. In an address to the nation, he clearly said his country will not be bullied and deterred.
We are witnessing the rise of nationalism, protectionism, the pursuit of narrow interests, and the decline of common cause. This is the world that we, as South Africa, a developing economy, must now navigate. But we are not daunted to navigate our path through this world that constantly changes. We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied.
Donald Trump's first few days in office have created troubles for South Africa. It all started with the announcement that Trump will cut all funding to South Africa over the alleged land confiscations. He added that the US has launched a probe over the matter. Last month, Ramaphosa signed a bill into law that allows government to seize land without compensation under some circumstances. Land reforms is a contentious issue in South Africa. Even after 30 years of the end of apartheid, the black majority owns little land. Over 70% of the land is owned with the white minority. Ramaphosa has clarified that the new law would not allow any forceful seizures, but that has not convinced the critics. Now, South Africa-born tech billionaire Elon Musk, who is Trump's close ally, also waded into the controversy and slammed the new law as openly racist. Ramaphosa spoke to Musk over the call to calm the tensions. But that did not work. Yesterday, the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, announced that he will skip the G20 foreign ministerial meeting in Johannesburg this month. He cited South Africa's land confiscation and also focus on climate and diversity as the reasons. He called the agenda anti-American. Ramaphosa also spoke about the G20 in his address. He said he will be sending envoys across the continent and the world on a charm offensive to explain South Africa's position on a number of foreign policy matters. This will include spelling out South Africa's objectives during its G20 presidency.
And with a view of explaining the positions that we have taken, and in particular, the objectives that we wish to achieve during our presidency of the G20, I have decided to send a delegation of government and other leaders to various capitals on our continent across the world. This delegation will interact with various key players on a variety of matters that affect South Africa's interests.
As per reports, in some off-the-cuff remarks, Ramaphosa also stressed on the need to further harness Indian and West Asian markets. This hints that he might be considering to boost alternative ties. Over the past few years, Ramaphosa government has already forged better partnerships with Russia and Iran. South Africa's criminal case against Israel at the ICC has also irked the United States. As tensions with the new Trump administration grow, Ramaphosa has made it clear that his approach is going to be defiant. How will it impact South Africa? Now, for more on this, we have with us Mbato Mge, a political analyst who is joining us live from Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alison, for having me, and good afternoon to the viewers.
Mbato, what are the key factors driving the current strain between the US and South Africa, and how much of it stems from Pretoria's foreign policy choices, particularly its stance on global conflicts and alliances?
So I think even before discussing the current contentious issue, it's important to give just a bit of context in terms of South Africa's historic relations with the USA. Now, post-1994, the USA played a very important role in terms of pivoting South Africa in the international international phase, that is. Now, South Africa, well, the USA rather, is South Africa's second biggest trading partner, and this plays a very important role in terms of funding fiscal deficits. Post-1994, the USA and South Africa have formed very strategic, multifaceted strategic partnerships that span across different sectors: security, energy, health, and so forth. And like I mentioned, the USA has sponsored South Africa's increased visibility in international affairs. Now, I mentioned that in the sense that in the USA playing an important role in increasing South Africa's visibility in international affairs, both regionally and internationally, the assumed agreement was perhaps, the move to strengthen democracy across the continent and within the world. However, even in 1994, South Africa and USA did not necessarily agree on a wide range of matters, especially in terms from a geopolitical perspective. Now, with that in mind, there are various issues that span before even Trump's presidency. We saw right now the current contentious issue is the land expropriation bill. Like you mentioned, Trump has criticized this, and he also stated that the USA will cut off all future funding from South Africa until further investigation into the issue is completed. We see now with the decision for Marco Rubio to snub the G20 that will be hosted later on in this month in South Africa, and the issue of AGOA. Prior to this, we saw, the contentious issue around Lady R, and that is, the USA was dissatisfied with South Africa's decision to allow the US-sanctioned Russian cargo ship in Lady R. Like you mentioned, South Africa strengthened relations with what the USA deems as its enemies: China, Russia, and Iran. South Africa has this call for increased South-South and increased participation of the Global South in the international affairs and arena has not sat well with the USA, and the USA deems this as a threat to its national interests and security.
Right, Mabatho. Now, how significant is the U.S. decision to boycott the G20 talks? As you mentioned there, Rubio deciding to boycott this, of course, being hosted by South Africa this month. What impact could this have on South Africa's role in multilateral diplomacy and global economic discussions?
From an economic perspective, this will have both immediate, short and long-term consequences for South Africa. We've already seen talks about, uncertainty about South Africa's membership in AGOA. We hear about threats to withhold any future aid and funding to South Africa by the USA. So from an economic perspective, this will have ramifications. And this is also a very overt position that the USA is making to South Africa to say that we are no longer willing to necessarily negotiate with you, but we are taking an assertive step in terms of where we stand with South Africa, which is somewhat forcing South Africa to take a position. Now, Ramaphosa's statement yesterday in terms of saying we will not be bullied is his response to the very hard stance that the USA and the Trump administration has taken. From a political perspective, South Africa holds a very unique position in international affairs in the sense that it holds multiple identities. It has a strategic position and strength from a regional perspective. It has, over the years, strengthened its South-South relations, and it has also historically had South-West relations. So from a political perspective, this may possibly force South Africa to move to alternative emerging and middle powers. And as to how the USA responds to this, it's not only South Africa that stands to lose, but the USA as well. With like I mentioned earlier on, South Africa has been a strategic partner for the USA, especially in terms of the USA asserting its mission from a regional perspective. So the USA also has a lot to lose, perhaps not economically or as much economically, but politically within the continent, that is.
Right. Mabatho, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your analysis and valued insights.
Thank you.
Shifting focus to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where Rwanda-backed M23 rebels continue their advance after violating a ceasefire they declared unilaterally. After making gains in the province of North Kivu, the M23 rebels are now advancing in the neighboring South Kivu province. Both of these provinces are a part of the DRC's mineral-rich east. As per reports, Congolese forces are now bracing for an assault at the town of Kavumu, which hosts the province's airport. Now, Kavumu is the last barrier before the provincial capital of Bukavu, which is some 30 kilometers away. Earlier, the rebels, along with their Rwandan allies, seized the South Kivu mining town of Nyabibwe. Now, this violated the ceasefire they declared after seizing the North Kivu's capital, Goma. In the captured city of Goma, rebels are now trying to shore up public support. They held a rally at a city stadium attended by hundreds of residents, and they tried to assure people that they are safe under their rule. They also presented new administrators that they have appointed for areas that they have seized. Now, the alliance leader, who was once President Felix Tshisekedi's ally, told the crowd that the city had been liberated and sanitized. He reiterated his vow to march toward the capital of Kinshasa.
We have come to work for the people. We are not here to steal. Those who stole from you have fled. The thieves are in Kinshasa. They stole from us through the taxes, these daily liars. So we ask you, as you are already freed, would you like us to stay in Goma? No. Where do you want us to go? Kinshasa. Where should we continue to? Kinshasa.
Several Goma residents attended the first public rally organized by the M23. while many are living in fear, hoping to know how things will turn out under the M23 rule.
The reason I am attending this first speech is because it concerns Congo. We know very well that the city of Goma was administered by the Congolese public authority. This time, that is not the case. There is the presence of M23 fighters occupying the city, and with this change, as a citizen, I cannot miss this opportunity to understand and highlight what is happening in my country.
Goma was captured by the M23 rebels in 2012 as well, for a short time before being defeated by the DRC army. However, this time they are eyeing political power. Rwanda has been accused of providing the rebels with military support and also using them to gain control of the DRC's precious minerals. As per the United Nations, around 3,000 people have been killed in the most recent days of clashes. These include foreign peacekeeping troops from various nations, which has risked the crisis spilling into a regional conflict. In the latest, 3 Swiss aid workers have also been killed during a mission in North Kivu province. The latest escalation comes as the DRC President Felix Tshisekedi prepares to attend a joint summit to African leaders in Tanzania with his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame tomorrow. So far, diplomacy has failed to solve the crisis in the DRC's east. Will it work this time? We will keep you posted. Let us now shift our focus to Nigeria, where a committee of lawmakers have proposed a controversial legislation. The government wants to create 31 new states across the West African country, taking the total number of states to 67. This is to address the growing demands of improving the economy and administrative efficiency in certain regions. However, the legislative move has been met with criticism. Experts believe that creating 31 new states would worsen the financial woes of Nigeria. Our next report gets you the details.
In the West African country of Nigeria, lawmakers have finally paid heed to a long-standing demand of the population, that of providing greater representation and regional autonomy. In a controversial legislative move, Nigeria's House of Representatives Committee on Constitution Review has recommended creating 31 new states across the country. This would increase the number of states in the country to 67 from 36, a significant restructuring of Nigeria's federal system. The committee has proposed creating 6 new states in the north-central part of Nigeria from Benue and Kogi provinces. Then it recommended the creation of the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja as a state. In the northeast, 4 states are to be created from Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno and Taraba provinces. In the northwest, the committee has proposed creating 5 states from Kaduna, Kano and Kebbi provinces. In the southeast, it has proposed carving out another 5 states, some of which will be from Enugu, Imo and Abia states. In the southwest, 6 states are to be carved out from Delta, Edo, Ondo, Oyo, Lagos, Ogun and Osun provinces. And in Nigeria's south, 4 states are to be created from the Cross River, Delta, Rivers and Akwa Ibom provinces. Now, Nigeria has undergone several state creation exercises since its independence. Most of them have been either to bring governance closer to the people or to address administrative challenges. In this case, the demand from ethnic and political groups was primarily for greater economic benefits and better representation. And the committee considered that while proposing the creation. Still, the committee's proposal was met with criticism and turned into a controversy. Experts have cautioned that additional states would come with immense fiscal and administrative costs that could exacerbate Nigeria's financial woes. Additionally, they've argued that the existing revenue-sharing formula is inadequate to meet the demands of such a restructured federation. Moreover, the legislative move immediately drew the attention of social media users in Nigeria, who were quick to comment that Nigeria was creating more problems for itself. Some users said that the discussion should have been on merging existing non-viable states, while others questioned the government on whether it had the resources to fund additional senators. For now, the proposal is still under discussion. It needs at least 2/3 majority in both chambers of the National Assembly and President Bola Tinubu's signature, as well as endorsements from the state legislatures and local governments in order to be implemented. Experts believe that building consensus will be difficult due to competing interests. The question now is, will Nigeria restructure its federal system once again?
And now turning our attention to East Africa, where Kenyan President William Ruto has once again found himself at the center of a controversy. President Ruto is facing public outrage over his orders to renovate the State House, which is the official residence of the country's head of state. Ruto is also under fire for spending billions of Kenyan shillings on renovating state lodges across major cities in the East African country, at a time when public buildings and schools are falling apart. Many Kenyans are criticizing Ruto for refurbishing the State House at the wrong time. The population is suffering economically, while some are not even able to afford quality healthcare and services. In such a scenario, renovations are a misplaced priority for Ruto's administration. Now, they have also argued that the president had committed to implementing austerity measures aimed at reducing government expenditure last year during the Gen Z protests that rejected his financial bill. But in spite of those assurances, renovations of the State House and several lodges have continued at a hefty budget. Now, the Architectural Association of Kenya has also expressed its deep concerns over the renovation of the State House. They believe that while renovations may be necessary, it is crucial to maintain the architectural integrity of such buildings, which has not been done. The association has also said the refurbishment of the exterior of the State House, especially the replacement of the iconic red roofing tiles, has made the building almost unrecognizable. The association has further added that public buildings and other key national structures requiring renovation should be listed by the National Museums of Kenya and subjected to public scrutiny before any work begins. Now, the State House is a 118-year-old building located in the capital city of Nairobi. The building had been the residence of the 17 colonial governors that once ruled Kenya under the British Empire. It is also the same building from which all 5 of Kenya's presidents have governed the country for the past 60 years. Buildings in the State House has been reportedly under renovation since 2015, with the works expected to be completed by June of 2027. Now, according to the records presented to the Kenyan Parliament mid-last year, the refurbishment that covers the State House and the state lodges are reportedly expected to cost 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings, or $11.6 million. Interestingly, the State House alone has undergone renovations worth 775 million Kenyan shillings, or $6 million as of September 2024, out of a total budget of 1.7 billion Kenyan shillings, or over $13 million. The government has defended this budget by saying that renovations are necessary and long overdue, as the building had reached a quote-unquote point of shame because of the excessive leakages and deteriorating condition. The Ruto administration has also dismissed claims that the expenditure amounted to an extravagant refurbishment of the residences. But still, the criticism has continued, especially after President Ruto provided a rare glimpse into the ongoing renovations of the State House during the reception of the Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoko's Imbalos later last month. Now, will the Ruto government pay heed to the criticism and stop the renovations, which are coming in at an economically difficult time for Kenya? And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and goodbye.